I received this question half a year ago and I wanted to make this video as soon as possible, but unfortunately I cannot always manage to make everything in time. I keep all of your suggestions and questions in a notebook so I haven't forgotten any of them. Sometimes I cannot find enough information to make these videos and that's why they are not uploaded. I hope you will forgive me if I have not uploaded a video about your request yet. Now let's get to the topic of today's video. All the information in this video is true for Passap Pinkie, Duo 80, E6000 and probably some additional models. There is a short note for the E6000 users. These machines have differently shaped pushers on the front bed, and since the machine uses electronics to move them, all E6000 users have to be more precise when arranging the pushers. As far as I know, the positions of the pushers have to be marked on the bed. This is a blank diagram used to show the knitter how to arrange the needles and the pushers on both beds of the machine. In such a diagram you can see three different symbols. The long lines indicate only the needles in working position. The short lines can be used to indicate the pusher in working or in resting position. And the dots are used to indicate the needles or the pushers that are out of working position. The needles have a total of 3 positions. They may be out of work, in working position or in upper working position. Only 2 of these positions are shown in the diagrams. In the diagrams you can see dots where the needles are out of work and lines where the needles are in working position. All the needles that are close to the needle scale are out of work. All the needles that are about 1.5 centimeters above the scale are in working position. The working needles must not protrude above the edges of the beds. Only the pick-to-carriage can bring the needles on the back bed to upper working position, and since the intarsia requires the knitter to do everything manually, there are no any automatic stitch patterns and diagrams showing this position of the needles. It was just worth mentioning that when knitting intarsia, the needles are not staying in the normal knitting position. Now let's move to the pushers. They also have 3 positions, but all of them are shown in the diagrams. When they are under the rail, they are out of work. If they are above the rail, they are in resting position. And when they are about 1 centimeter above the rail, they are in working position. Now let's see how this looks in the diagrams. The upper half of the diagram shows the needles and the pushers on the back bed of the machine, and the lower half shows the needle and the pusher arrangement on the front bed. Now let's put several needles in working position. We have 2 needles in working position on the front bed and 2 needles in working position on the back bed of the machine. They are arranged according to the needle rule. The needle rule is a rule for arranging the working needles. According to it, the leftmost working needle must be on the front bed and the rightmost working needle must be on the back bed of the machine. You will hear this term frequently in your knitting journey. Now let's continue with the pushers. In the diagrams, the back bed pusher arrangement is shown in the top box and the arrangement for the front bed is shown in the bottom box. Now let's put several pushers on the diagram. As you can see, the pushers in the diagram are in different positions. The leftmost pusher on the front bed and the rightmost pusher on the back bed are both touching the border line. This means that they are in working position. The rightmost pusher on the front bed and the leftmost pusher on the back bed are in resting position. Now let's put some needles and pushers out of work. As you can see, when the needles or pushers have to be out of work, they are indicated with dots in the diagrams. Now let's see some real examples. This is the diagram from the manual. What can we find out by looking at it? We have 12 needles in working position on the front bed and 12 needles in working position on the back bed. The needles are arranged according to the needle rule. There are 4 pushers in working position under the leftmost 4 needles on the front and the back bed of the machine. On both beds under the 4 working needles in the middle we have pushers in resting position. The pushers for the rightmost 4 needles are out of working position, or in other words, under the blocking rail. Now let's see some examples. Sometimes only part of the diagram is shown, as in this example. In this diagram only the needles are shown because the pushers are not required. In this case the pushers must be out of working position except if there is something noted in the instructions. Here is another example. Can you guess what can be indicated by using this diagram? All needles on the front bed are out of work and the needles on the back bed are arranged in a 1-to-1 division. We don't have pushers indicated on the diagram, so they must be out of work. But how do I know that this diagram shows the working needles on the back bed? Let's look at the next example. The upper part of the lines that indicate the needles on the front bed is always touching the border line. It's like the front bed needles are trying to kiss the needles on the back bed. But what else can we see in this example? There is no indication of the non-working needles on the back bed. Sometimes there is no indication but just a blank space on the diagram. In this case we have only 2 working needles on the back bed. What can we see more? Both end working needles are on the back bed of the machine, and this means the needle rule is not observed. Also, I have to mention that there are raised pushers under all working needles on the front bed and they are all in working position. The next example should be a piece of cake. And while I'm eating the cake, tell me, what can you see on the diagram? The needles on the front bed are in working position and all pushers under the working needles are in resting position. There is no information for the needles and the pushers on the back bed, so they must be out of work. Now I will show you one additional diagram, but I won't tell you anything about it. Pause the video, observe the diagram and tell me in the comments how should the needles and the pushers be arranged on both beds of the machine. Now it's time for some exceptions and symbols. This is a stitch pattern from the Small Stitch Pattern book, and if you look at the diagram up close you will see this marking. It is used to show you which part of the diagram has to be repeated if you have to use more needles than what is shown in the diagram. Both end working needles are on the back bed of the machine and all of the needles on the back bed are in working position, so I will examine only the needles on the front bed. You can see that you have 6 working needles followed by 6 needles out of work. This is the part that has to be repeated along the needle bed, and finally you must end with 6 needles in working position on the right. If you don't have the repetition symbol, you will have columns with 12 needles in working position in the center of the knitting because you have to repeat the whole diagram along the bed. Now I will show you another symbol that you can see in the diagrams. Can you guess what these X's are used for? Obviously these are not hugs and kisses. You will find them in the stitch patterns used for knitting a drop stitch lace. You can see the letter X under the stitches that must be unraveled at the end of the knitting process. I have a video about knitting this stitch pattern, which is an awesome looking edging for many projects. You can watch that video by clicking on the info card. Here is another diagram. I won't ask you for the arrangement of the needles and the pushers, but can you notice something that wasn't present in the other diagrams I showed in the video? If your answer is no, I suggest to replay the video. What I wanted you to notice is the position of the needles. Tell me in the comments below if you notice the difference. In this diagram, the needles on the front bed are opposite to the needles on the back bed. This means the racking handle is in its highest position. In all of the previous diagrams, the racking handle was in its lowest position. If the needles were kissing the borderline in the previous example, now it is intercourse. Did you get overwhelmed because I'm not finished yet? This is a diagram from a different magazine. What can you understand by watching it? The racking handle is in its highest position because the needles are opposite to each other. The needles on both beds are arranged in a 1-to-1 division. The pushers on the front bed are arranged in groups of 4. If we start from left to right, the first one is in working position, the second one is out of work, the third one is in resting position, and the fourth one is out of work. The last thing I will tell you is about understanding the needle arrangements written in different emails, forums, messages, or sites. In most cases, you will see something like this. The numbers indicate the needles in working position and the dots indicate the needles out of work. Sometimes there may be additional rows for the pushers on the front and the back bed. You may need to test the arrangement because the dots and the numbers are not aligned perfectly, so before starting to knit, make sure the racking handle is in the correct position and the needles are arranged properly. Sometimes you can find these notes in the written instructions. This is what the diagram should look like. Did you try to imagine what it would look like? Tell me in the comments below. Now click on the info card to see how I play with the pushers and learn what they are used for. That's all for today. Now have a nice day and see you in my next video.